Dak Prescott has come into training camp focused on fixing this turnover issue. He's already made a promise or a prediction that he will throw fewer than 10 interceptions this season. This is coming on the back of him leading the league in interceptions last year when he only played in 12 games. And that's a huge red flag because only a few years ago, Carson Wentz did the same thing for the Philadelphia Eagles and he was immediately shipped out of Philadelphia. Now, different case, different scenario. Wentz is currently out of the league. But Dak Prescott, I think, has a similar body of work that is kind of closer to what we see in Carson Wentz. We know that Dak Prescott came into the league in 2016 and he took the league by storm just because he wasn't that big with turnovers. He only threw 4 interceptions his rookie year. I don't know how many fumbles he had, but it was also pretty few. So he kept the ball safe within the Dallas offense. So that's huge. Rookie, young quarterbacks, ball security is a big time thing. Dak has always had a loaded roster. He inherited the Great Wall of Dallas in 2016 from Tony Romo, best offensive line, and he had the best running back at the time in Zeke Elliott. And as Zeke continued to get that boatload of carries, and this was before even Tony Pollard was in the league, Zeke had 2 rushing titles, and every year that Zeke won a rushing title, the Dallas Cowboys made the playoffs. And when the Dallas Cowboys have a good running attack, Dak isn't asked to do a lot. He can rely off play action. The defense is going to play a little bit more in the box. Those windows for throwing lanes open up. But since 2019 season, the Dallas offense has evolved into a little bit more of a pass-first offense, thanks to the emergence of CeeDee Lamb, the first addition in Amari Cooper that really changed things around for Dak Prescott in 2017, 2018. He struggled without Ezekiel Elliott, and for the first half of 2018, the Dallas Cowboys were 3-5, looking like they were going to miss the playoffs. But Amari Cooper gets traded from the Oakland Raiders, and the rest is history. He changes life in Dallas. But since he was traded away, Dallas is focusing on their 2 receivers in CeeDee Lamb and also Michael Gallup. Now, Gallup was coming off of that torn ACL, so it was more to do with CeeDee Lamb and a few other tight ends in this running attack, but still, the Dallas Cowboys had to rely on Dak Prescott. But when he has to put his chips to the center of the table, this is when he folds. Unfortunately for Dak, he's come up small way too many times in the playoffs, in big games when Dallas really needs him to be a top-tier quarterback. And this is going back to also how the offense has changed over from Kellen Moore to Mike McCarthy. Now, Mike McCarthy is obviously heading into a tumultuous year where it's kind of like a do-or-die season for him before he gets axed. And I don't think, unless Dallas changes anything, he could be on the way out. He's going to be taking over play calling abilities for the Dallas offense, and that means that he's going to be working on focusing on the running game and taking the things away from Dak Prescott so he's not so much of a heavy point of this offense. And when you're getting paid the big dollars that he wanted back in 2021, that's a kind of a weird instant, right? Because Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, those elite quarterbacks have been doing more with less, right? They've been always been players that have been asked to develop and then evolve. Mahomes has done it now without Tyreek Hill. Justin Herbert has done it with a patchwork offensive line and receivers that are always banged up. Joe Burrow has done it also with a patchwork offensive line, but still been able to carry the Bengals to a Super Bowl appearance. Dak hasn't been that fortunate. He's had a lot more and he hasn't been able to produce. That has always been my gripe with him. He's been this trust fund baby in terms of NFL assets, and he hasn't done anything to prove that he really is an elite quarterback in this league. And right now, it's going to be a big test because in training camp, he's thrown a ton of interceptions. I mean, even Trayvon Diggs has been jawing at him when he's intercepting Dak Prescott in practice. And now, thankfully for Dak, he doesn't have to go against this vaunted defense in Micah Parsons, Stephon Gilmore, and Trayvon Diggs that I mentioned before. But there's going to be a ton of big-time defenses that Dallas has to get through. They have to play the New York Jets in week 2. They'll eventually play the Philadelphia Eagles defense twice. And they'll have to play the San Francisco 49ers on a Sunday night as well. That's just to name a few. There are a ton of defenses last year that were mediocre and still intercepted Dak Prescott or forced him into mistakes. So we'll have to see how this evolves, because it's certainly going to be a little bit of a thing that's in the back seat for the Dallas Cowboys this season, just to see how Dak is going to be pressing, how he's going to be trying to make the big plays but not press and not force the issue. Because remember, when playing loose and free, that's kind of the best case scenario for any quarterback or any player in the NFL, when you don't really feel that pressure. But when he starts to feel that pressure, he's been a player that comes up short. With him, if he doesn't do anything to really improve the Dallas Cowboys in terms of getting past the divisional round, something they haven't done in over 30 years, I might have to look at retooling the roster in terms of first getting rid of Mike McCarthy, getting some new coaching perspective from that end, but also looking at a new quarterback in Dallas.